Hello there, welcome back to Jennie Designs with Paper. Thank you so much for stopping by my channel today. I'm working in my art journal, so get comfy and let's get crafty. This is the Mission Inspiration June 2023 recipe card, prompt card, whatever you want to call it. There are 5 inspiration words and 8 steps, and I'm going to work those all in together. Want to see how? Check this out. So here I have a printed version of my recipe card, and I have the art journal page I will be working on. My main focal point is going to be the mountain and the moon, but everything else is going to come into play as well. This art journal page is a piece of mixed media paper that I used to clean up last time I used sprays, and it is about 5.5 by 8.5 inches. So the first step in our challenge this month is to add junk mail fragments. Most of my junk mail gets thrown away before I even get anywhere with it. So I'm using the ads from magazines. And I am going to go ahead and glue them on with some liquid medium. And it is a gloss medium. And it is going to be thick and clumpy. And that will create a texture in the background of my page. I'm using just the ad pages from the magazine. I'm going to tear them into pieces and put them on in whatever way, shape, and form they end up going on. It doesn't really matter because they're going to be covered up in the end, but this is just going to create some background texture. So I am going to just start ripping the pages apart. I do want all of the pieces that are on my page to be torn edge, not straight edge, and that's just going to add to the texture. Another way I'm going to add texture to this page is by using liquid medium for my glue, but I'm only going to put that on the art journal page. I'm not going to add it to the back of these fragments, and that will cause this magazine paper to kind of wrinkle a little bit. You know how magazine paper does when it gets wet? So I'm going to shake this up. I'm going to I'm going to peel the goop off the lid because obviously I was not good when I put it away last. But that's a ton. That is like 3 times as much as I would need. I'm going to spread it to the edges with my good old glue brush there. I am making sure I'm going off the edges so that it sticks down properly. Also, I am putting all the pieces on upside down. If any of the words show up, I don't want them to be legible. I don't think at the end they're going to show up, but just in case. Also, those pieces that were on the green paper, I'm kind of interspersing those and the black paper. And you're even going to see that this liquid medium turns blue because the sprays on the background are not permanent. They are a watercolor spray, so they are moving and swishing and turning everything blue. Also, not a big deal. I did put down a craft mat to work on, and halfway through the drying process, I realized, oh, dang it, this is not my Teflon mat, and it is going to get hot, and also my self-healing mat underneath it's going to get a little bit too warm. So I did have to change that out. For whatever reason, I did not have quite enough pieces there, and I'm just tearing them a couple more apart, filling in all of the background, and it's going to be bumpy, and it's going to be multiple layers, and it's going to be completely unattractive. Just for real. Totally unattractive. So I pull my heat tool out, I get to heat setting it, and this is when I changed because I realized, holy cow. Okay, step number 2 is to add gesso or paint. I'm going to begin by adding a thick coat of this white gesso. White gesso does get a little bit more translucent as it dries back, and I don't want to be able to see too many things through this gesso. So I did go ahead and put a nice thick coat down. I'm going over that in multiple directions, and you can see already those layers of magazine paper starting to cause elevation differences in the background of my page. Once I get once I get the background heat set, I am going to go ahead and trim off the edges with some scissors I did end up eventually going back through and trimming it off with a paper trimmer off camera, but that's in another step. So we have the texture added with the junk mail fragments. We've added a layer of gesso, and now I'm going to also add some paint. I want to turn this background blue. So I've pulled out 2 colors of distress paints. These are acrylic paints from the Distress line, the Tim Holtz Distress line. No idea what colors they are. Didn't even look. I have them in my drawer upside down so I can pull them out by color versus name because, yeah, I don't care. Also, a ton of paint. That's a lot of paint for this small area. And it's thick and it's not absorbing into my background because of the gesso. So this is also going to help create some texture. Those 2 colors kind of mixed together, kind of didn't. They didn't blend to create a third color, so we have some light spots and some dark spots. And also there's some places down at the bottom where the blue isn't covering all the way. Totally okay with that. Once I got that, those 2 colors kind of on there, I added a couple more droplets of the darker blue. And I am nilly-willy with this paintbrush. And that will also add texture to my page. I'm going to heat set that and put it aside. It took a really long time for this to dry, so I actually went and had lunch and fed my kids. And now we're moving on to the next step. So the third step is to scribble illegible handwriting, but my background isn't dry enough for that. So while I'm waiting for my background to dry, I'm going to prepare my focal image, which is step 4. And my focal image is going to be mountains. Now I printed out I printed out 1 photograph 2 times of a mountain range. And it's just, it's not a great quality photograph, no big deal. But then I pulled out of my magazines some blue pages. And I'm going to use this cut apart mountain range to kind of trace that shape onto my blue backgrounds to get some mountains. So I've got a pencil here and I'm not going to color very dark. And I'm just going to kind of trace this mountain range. Now, let's be honest. Could I have just drawn a mountain range? Yes, I could. But this is how I went about it. This is how I went about it. And I don't hate it. So it's good. This is a lighter blue color and it's got a lot of white in it. So that will serve as the tops of the mountains. I'm going ahead with the other piece of this page as well. I'm just continuing to cut out that taller mountain range on my whiter and lighter blue spaces. And then for the lower edge of that mountain range, I'm going into this darker blue page. Now these are both from the same magazine. They're just different photo spreads, different parts of the world, I suppose. And so now I have this 4 or 5 piece photo page or mountain range cut out of a photograph or background pages actually in a magazine. I have a friend that gives me all of her used magazines or all of her read magazines. And after I've looked through them and read them, I cut them apart. I use them for anything and everything. So this is how my focal image is going to look. And here is my art journal page after it's been heat set and left to dry while I ate lunch and while my kids ate lunch. And you can see that texture. There's visual texture because of the different layers of paint. There is actual texture because of the different layers of the paper beneath it. And so we're going to now go ahead and go on to step 3 and scribble on text or handwriting, illegible text or handwriting. So I have an acrylic paint pen. This is just an Amazon branded one. I kind of wanted to try them out. It has a brush nib and a bullet nib. I am going to use this bullet nib to do a little bit of illegible handwriting. I wrote down whatever word popped into my mind, and I started at the middle of the page and just did my best to be super scribbly. Like, even if you could see this, I don't want it to be legible or readable. And once I've got to the bottom, I'm going to flip it over and start in the middle again to create another section of illegible handwriting. And this is kind of where I ran out of words. Like, have you ever had that happen? Like all of a sudden your brain has no words. It is eerie. But now that I've gotten that all written down, I did kind of wipe off the edge of my paint pen just to make sure there was no acrylic paint stuck to it. And now we're going to go ahead and move on to step 4 and assemble our focal image. So again, I'm using this liquid gloss medium to assemble my mountain range. I will add a little bit adhesive to the back of my mountain range as well as the front of my art journal page, and that will help it not wrinkle quite as much. But again, that texture is part of the mission this month, so I'm okay with it being wrinkly and weird. Now, one thing to keep in mind is that my focal image is much wider and longer than I need it to be, and that's okay. I want it that way so that I can trim off the excess. I planned it that way so that I did not have to worry about the edges. So now we're going to go ahead and slap on that gel. Oh my gosh, I keep saying gel medium. Sorry guys, it's liquid medium. It's gloss liquid medium, and it's my least favorite, but it's in my drawer, so I'm trying to use it all gone. Okay. So now we're going to go ahead and dump that out. We're going to use a little more sparingly. We're not going to the top of the page because our mountains are not going to the top of the page, but I am going all the way down to the bottom corners, and I want to make sure that I get enough adhesive on the edges that it sticks. So I put adhesive on the entirety of the art journal page and then along the edges of the mountains so that I, make sure the tops get enough glue as well. And you can see that the texture from the layers of magazine pages underneath the gesso and the different layers of paint are pushing up through that really thin magazine paper and creating some more texture. And I'm going to just let it be. I'm going to continue to let this paper just wrinkle and bubble up over the texture in the background because I love how it turned out. It was like wonderful. It was wonderful. Sometimes you don't want the wrinkles, but this time I really did just love how it turned out. So I've been kind of struggling to get into my craft room lately. It's felt like one more thing on my list of things to do, and I hate that feeling. There's been a lot of things going on toward the end of the school year and that transition into summertime for my kids, which, dude, I don't know why it's so hard for them to make that transition because they love summertime. But anyway, I am enjoying being in my craft room today. I intentionally scheduled nothing else today. My kids are literally sitting on their computers playing Roblox and Minecraft or whatever, so that I can just be in my room. Yeah, so I can just be in my room. I'm going to knock out the shiny stuff, the shiny texture or the shiny surface of this page by putting clear gesso over the top. That is the reason I don't love gloss mediums, whether it's a gel or a liquid or Mod Podge, because it's shiny, and in a humid climate, that shiny means it sticks, and I just don't like it. So I added some clear gesso because it will knock back that shiny. It will add a little bit of grit to the page, and it makes it not stick to itself or not stick to the page in front of it. And then I'm taking my little dirty scissors and cleaning off the edges again. And now it's time to move on to the next step. So we have some texture. We have the mountains. And step number 5 is to make marks with lids and tubes. So I have a piece of a paper towel roll that I have cut off. I have a soda cap bottle and I have the lid to one of my sprays, and I'm just going to create some circles onto this page. This is just another background. It is just more texture. At least at first, this is just more texture. And not meant to be an integral part of the page, just meant to add to it a little bit. However, that paper towel tube that I've cut down, I'm going to use that to create a moon. Now, it's not a very circular moon. In fact, it's really kind of an odd shape. But let's be honest, sometimes you look outside and the moon looks a little lumpy. Not quite that lumpy, but it looks a little lumpy. I am going to grab a paintbrush and pull in a paintbrush to fix that. And with my little paintbrush, I can pick up some of that gesso and kind of straighten out the curve of that circle and fill in the center. Originally, I had planned to add a layer of gesso down and then put some light browns and yellows in it, but the texture in the background kind of gave it some shadows on its own, plus the way that the gesso dried. So I did not need to worry about adding those craters and stuff, shadows on the moon. It kind of did it itself. Once I had my moon filled in, I picked up some more gesso, and I'm adding a few more circles with this soda bottle lid. It was like the perfect day to have a Pepsi because I had a soda bottle lid. The next step is to add some large typography. Now, I have these Tim Holtz rub-ons that have large numbers, and I decided, even though typography usually means letters, I'm going to use these anyway. And I picked the set of numbers that runs vertical versus horizontal, and I'm going to cut it in half. Now, I did two boo-boos with this. The first was on this first side, I forgot to put the cut edge next to the edge of the paper, the edge of my art journal page. On the second side, I did not make sure the paint at the bottom was dry. So that required a little bit of repair, and I just did that off camera. I added a little bit of black and blue paint to the bottom, and you can't even tell, because the next step is to use washi tape or paper strips or paper elements, and I have this washi tape that has huge ABCs on it. So I am going to add some pieces of washi tape to my background, and this, I could have left off those numbers, but I like them, the black numbers without the white background against the white background of the washi tape. So I put a little bit of washi tape down on the bottom right hand corner where those rub-ons kind of tore because the paint wasn't dry, and I couldn't decide if I was going to trim it off or tuck it under, so I'm leaving that for now. I'm going to stick a smaller piece of washi tape up in the top left hand corner, just to be opposites, you know, because opposites attract. I don't know. It just felt like that's where it should go. And this really was just a follow the steps play page. The only thing I really thought out was how to create the mountains for my background. Everything else was kind of a just go with the flow kind of part of the process. So now I have this washi tape on, and it is a large typography, plus it's a washi tape. And I am going to add a little bit of clear gesso over the top of my washi tape because clear gesso can be used as an adhesive, and washi tape doesn't stick forever, right? So this will just keep it on that page, and it will help it stay stuck down. And it's clear, so it doesn't hide anything. Okay, the next step is to add black or white splatters. I chose white splatters, and I grabbed my splat box so I didn't have white gesso all over my computer and my desk. Although I think I still see some gesso splats everywhere. And then I dried that back, and I have a quote. And this quote says, "And the moon said to me, 'Darling, you do not have to be whole in order to shine,'" which I thought was perfect. It also embodied that concept of hope and courage. And I just printed that on white copy paper because I was not sure how dark this page was going to go as far as the background. Wasn't sure if I was going to go all the way to black or just keep it blue. So I'm adding that on with my glue stick. And this quote is attributed to Nicole McElhaney. I butchered that. I've also seen it attributed to other people, but the first time I saw it, it was attributed to Nicole, so that's where I went with it. I did put some more of that black paint on my page, and I'm adding some more circles just to kind of make that quote box be a part of the page as opposed to something that is floating on top of my page. And I'm just using that black, this is Black Soot Distress Acrylic Paint. So I just added some groups of circles. I grabbed that acrylic pen and signed my name and dated it. I just wrote Jennie and signed 6/2023. And then I'm going to flip it over. I am going to adhere my prompt card to the back. Off camera, I did just fold that washi tape down, and hopefully it will stay and not peel up. But I have used the inspiration words. I have gone through all of the steps. I have junk mail texture. I have gesso and paint. I have illegible handwriting. I have a focal image. I have circles with lids and tubes. I have large typography. I have washi elements, and I have splatters in white. So now I'm just grabbing my double-sided adhesive. I'm putting some on each edge of this prompt card, and I will put it on the back of this messy art journal page. Over to the left as you're looking at it, because then when I flip it over and punch holes in it to put it into my binder, I will not punch holes through my prompt card, because you know I've done that before. Yeah, sometimes I forget which side the holes are actually going to be on. There's my finished art journal page. I thoroughly enjoyed hanging out in my craft room today. My kids left me alone because they knew if they bugged me, I'd take away their computers. So it was a wonderful, wonderful morning. I hope you enjoyed watching this video. I have a couple of other videos here I think you would like. I've also added a subscribe button. If you have not yet subscribed to my channel, I would love it if you did. Leave me a thumbs up. Let YouTube know you liked the video. Leave me a comment down below, and have a really fabulous day.